Okay, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And in this activity is 15.6.1, configure IPv4 and IPv6 static default route. So objective of this activity is, in this activity, packet tracer summary activity, you will configure static, default, and floating static route for both the IPv4 and IPv6 protocol. So what are the objective? Configure IP4 static and floating static route, configure IPv6 static and floating static default route, and configure IPv4 static and floating static route to the internal LANs. And then you also configure IPv6 static and floating static route. Floating, as we discussed before, floating means backup. Okay, so backup static route. So this is your IPv6 primary static route, and then the backup static route to the internal LANs. Okay, so this is our internal LAN, LAN 1 and LAN 2. IPv6 host route, IPv4 host route, IPv6 host route. So in this activity, you will configure IP4, IPv6 default static and floating static route. Okay, and now we will go for the instruction part 1. Part 1, configure IP4 static and floating static route. So here we are on the edge router. This is your edge router. Configure directly connected IP4 default static route. So here, see, edge router. So this is our edge router and directly connected. Directly connected, it means you need to mention the exiting interface. Okay, so exiting interface. So let me also use the option preferences, and here always show the port label. So we will see this is the port serial 0000. So we'll go to the router, edge router, and this is the instruction. Just let me use the instructions here. Okay, now let me organize a little bit and then we can proceed. Okay, so on the edge router directly connected IP4 default static route. So the primary default route should be through the ISP1. See here, so this is our ISP1. Here, this is ISP1 and this is ISP2. So this is your ISP1. Okay, so now let me also use a different color for ISP1. So this is your ISP1. So this is, sorry, just this is your ISP1. Okay, so this is your ISP1 and we are using different color for ISP1. Okay, so this is your ISP2. So it should go through the ISP1 to your server. Okay, so this is the, here we need to configure. Okay, so this one we need to configure. Okay, so let's go to the router 1 and we can read the instructions, further instruction. Okay, so here default route. Okay, default static route, static default route, IPv4. Okay, now how we can configure default static route here? So here from this link. Okay, now we will see what is the exiting interface, what is the this is edge router, this is the ISP. So ISP, this is serial 0000. So it means, so your edge router, this is the interface port number. Okay, this is the port number serial 000. Okay, so we need to mention this port number here. Okay, so now IP route, so default static route. So you can mention, you can write 0.0.0.0, and the subnet mask is also 0.0.0.0, and then you need to write a serial interface. So this is serial 000 interface of this edge router. Okay, serial 0/0/0. Okay, now this is your directly connected, sorry, invalid IP route. Okay, IP route, sorry, configure, sorry, just 1 minute, enable configure terminal. So you should be in the global configuration mode, then you can write. Okay, now here you can type this command. Okay, you can type this command, copy and paste it here, all of you. Okay, now done. So the second, configure on the edge router, we have configured the primary default route. Okay, step number 2, configure IP4 floating static default route. Now floating means backup. So we will configure the backup static default route. So on the edge router, configure a directly connected. So again, this is a directly connected, not next hop static route. This is directly connected. It means again we need to mention the interface. Okay, the port number. So IP4 static default route, and default route should be through ISP2. So it should be through this link. Okay, through this link. Okay, Now we can see what are the other interfaces here. Just go, and on the edge router, on the edge, the other interface is see 10.10.10.4, 10.10. See here, serial 000 10.10.10.6. Okay, so this will be your serial 001. Okay, so here we can mention serial 001. Okay, so default static root, same command, but serial 001. So how it can be a backup route, how it can be a floating static route? Floating, so we need to mention here 5. Okay, so by default value is 1, but higher value, if you will give the higher value, it become the floating static route. It become the floating static default route. Okay, now this is a floating static route. It means now this will be the backup route. Okay, now this will be the backup route. Okay, now go to the next instruction. So this one finished, this one finished. Now part 2, configure IPv6. Configure IPv6, IPv6 static and floating static default route. So here on the edge router, so now we are configuring IPv6. So on the edge router, configure next hop. Now this is next hop static default route. Next hop static default route. Okay, so this is a prime. I think some background noises is getting disturbed. To all the students, please mute your mic. Thank you. So primary default route should be through the router ISP. So this is your primary default static route, IPv6 default static route. Okay. So we are on the edge router. On the edge router, we need to configure IPv6 static default route. Okay. So see here. So you are on the edge router. On the edge router, you need to configure by using next hop static default route. Okay, so this is your primary static route, primary default route. Okay, so this is your primary route. If you will see here, this is your primary. Okay, so how we can configure IPv6? Just simply type IPv6. Okay, just type IPv6. After that, just type root. Okay, IPv6 root. IPv6 root. Okay, then double colon slash 0, double colon slash 0. Okay, so what is the IP address of this interface? Serial 001, serial ISP2. Okay, we will go to the addressing table. We will go to the addressing table. Okay, and here we will find the what is the IP address of this ISP2 serial 00 interface, because it is a next hop static route. So here ISP2, so this is your ISP2, and this interface serial 001. So this is your IPv6 exiting interface. Okay, so interface IP. So interface IP is primary path. So primary path is this one, ISP1. Sorry, primary path. First we need to configure the primary path, then we will configure the floating static route. So for ISP1, we will configure first ISP1. So where is ISP1? This is ISP1. So this is the primary default IPv6 static route. Copy this one, and then you can paste it here. Okay, so this will be your primary IPv6 default static route, but this is a next hop. Okay, next hop static default route. This is a next hop static default route. Okay, so we type the IP address of this serial 00 interface. Okay, why? Because this is a next hop static default route. Okay, so press enter. Okay, now the next instruction, go to the next instruction here. So step number 1, IPv6 static default route, then IPv6 floating static default route. So we configure the primary IPv6 default static route by using a next hop. Okay, now we will configure a IPv6 floating static default route, mean the primary, the backup now. So this will be the backup. Okay, so here we will configure same, but in this case ISP2. So ISP2, this is the address 2.1. So here just only you can change 2.1. Okay, so here just 1 minute, 2 double colon 1. So And after that, you need to mention, so what we need to write? We need to write the administrative distance, the higher administrative distance. So by default is 1, but if we need to make any route as a backup route or any route as a floating static route, then we need to type higher than 1 value, which is okay. In this case, we will write 5. Okay, we will type 5. So this one finished. So we have finished IPv6 floating static default route. Okay, we have finished. Now come to the IPv4 static and floating static route to the internal LAN. If you will see here. So now on ISP1, so this is your ISP1, configure directly connected floating static route to LAN 1. So this is your LAN 1. Let me take some other color and at least you can easily recognize. So this is your LAN 1. See, and let me take some different color for LAN 2. Okay, so this is your LAN 2. Okay, so this is a LAN 2. This is your LAN 1. Okay, so we have two LAN, LAN 1 and LAN 2. Okay, now, so instructions, go to the instruction again. On ISP1, configure directly connected floating static route. Sorry, first this on IPv4. Later we will go for the floating. Floating being backup, we will configure later on. Step number part 3, step number 1. Step number 1 on ISP1, configure next hop IPv4 static route on LAN 1. So LAN 1, this is the IP address, IPv4 address 192.168.10.68 subnet mask. Okay, here we need to type. So this is a prefix notation /28. Okay, so network through the edge router. It should be go through this. So if you are in ISP1, so here we need to configure next hop IPv4 static route for LAN 1. Okay, so go to the router, then so LAN 1. Okay, so your destination is LAN 1. Here, enable configure terminal. Okay, after that you need to type IP route. Okay, IP route. So then IP route. Okay, then 10.16. So this is your destination address 192.168.10.16. So we are in ISP router. Okay, so this is your IPv4 static route, next hop static route. Okay, IP4 next hop static route. Okay, so we are here. Okay, we need to configure IP route. Okay, this is our destination 192.168.10.16. So we will type 192.168.10.16. Okay, then we need to type the subnet mask. If it is /28, then what will be the subnet mask? Can you tell me? So what can be the subnet mask? Okay, please tell me. 255.255.255.240. Please do 240. Yes, it is 240. Now here we are configuring by using next hop IP4 static route. Okay, we are configuring next hop static route. So the IP address of this serial 00 interface. So we will type the IP address of this serial 00 interface of the edge router. Let's go to the instructional page and find out what is the IP address of this serial 00 interface. So the IP address is 10.10.10.2. Okay, just copy this one. Okay, and paste it here. Okay, paste here. So this will be the IPv4 static route, mean next hop IP4 static route. Okay, so now this is done. So next instruction. So next instruction is part 3. Where is the part 3? Part 3, step 1, finish. On ISP1, configure next hop IP4 static route on LAN 2. So here we have a LAN 2. This is our LAN 2. Okay, so we will configure this LAN 2 as well. Okay, now same, but here you can see it is 192.168.11.32. Okay, 11.32. So here we need to change the destination address. So what is the destination? 11.32 10.16. But here we have 11. See here 11.32. Just type 11.32. Okay, 11.32 and /27. /27, then it will become If it is prefix is /27, what should be the subnet mask? Yes,
224.
224. So 224. No, this is 224 because it is /27. /27 is 224. Yes. Okay. For if it is /28, prefix is /28, so you can write 240. Okay. And so exiting interface is the same IP is same because this is the primary path. Okay. So we have the next hop now. So next hop IPv. So the IP address of the serial is same. So we will type the same 10.10.10.2. Okay. Just press enter, done. So we have finished this part 3, step A and B. We finished both. Now step number 2, okay, part 3, step 2, configure IPv4 floating static route. Now we need to configure the floating static route. This is our primary route to reach to LAN 1 and LAN 2. This is our primary. Okay, this is our backup route. So this is our backup route. Okay, from ISP1 to ISP2, ISP2 to edge router, and edge router to LAN 1. Okay, same ISP1 to ISP2, ISP2 to edge router to PCB. This is our backup path. Okay, so this is our backup path for LAN 1 and LAN 2. Now we need to configure this floating static route, the backup route. Okay, so on ISP1, configure directly connected. See here, directly connected. It means now we need to use the port number. It can be a serial or it can be a gigabit. We will see. So directly connected floating static route on LAN 1. Okay, so this and okay, so let me, and the administrative distance should be 5. Okay, administrative distance, it should be 5. Okay, now we are in the we are here on the ISP router, and this gigabit 00 interface, we'll use gigabit 00 interface. Okay, so IP route. Okay, this is IPv4. Again, double check IPv4. Okay, this is IPv4, not IPv6. IP route. So no need to mention IPv4. Just simply write IP route. So IP route. So our destination is 11 dot. Sorry. Here I will use the same 10.16, 255.255.240. But instead of next hop IP address, we can use the port number. So what is the port number? What port number we can use here? Can you tell me, please? What port number we can use here? Yes, what port number we can use? So port number, this port number gigabit 00. We can use gigabit 00. So G0/0, and this is our the administrative distance. We can write 5. Administrative distance is 5. Simply type 5. Okay. Now this is done. So we have configured for LAN 1. LAN 1 means 10.16, and this is okay. Now for LAN 2, again. See here LAN 2, so 11.32. So this is our 11.32. So this is the LAN 2 network address and subnet mask 224. So this is not, we can mention gigabit 00. Okay, gigabit 0/0. Okay, and the administrative distance we can write here 5. Okay, gigabit 00 and administrative distance is 5. Okay, done. So this part is done. Now we need to configure IPv6 static route to the internal LAN. IPv6 static route to the internal LAN. Now we finish IPv4, done, finished. Now on ISP1, configure next hop IPv6 static route. Next hop, same. Now we need to write the exiting interface IP address. Okay. On LAN 1, so this is the IPv6 address of LAN 1, DB8 1.10. Okay, so simply we can copy this network address and we will go to the, now here simply type IPv6. Okay, we are here on ISP1. See, I am here on ISP1. So IPv6, just type IPv6 and then you can write route, IPv6 route. Okay, sorry, ROUTE, IPv6 route. Okay, then the destination network 10.16. Destination is 10.16/28. Okay, so sorry, 1.10 :/64. So this is IPv6 destination address. Okay, so after that, what we need to do here, what it is saying, the instruction is saying next hop, Okay, so in the next hop we will see. So next hop means serial 000 interface IP address. What is serial 00? So this is the next hop. Exiting interface IP address, na, serial 00. So we will go next hop IP address, okay, for LAN 1. So next hop means serial 00 interface of the edge router, serial 000 interface of the edge router. So this will be 2001 DB8 1 dot double colon 2, okay. So double colon 2. So here paste, okay. So this will be your destination network 1.10. So this is 1.10 double, so slash 64, and this is the next hop. So this is the next hop IPv6 route, next hop 1.2 serial interface IP address, okay. And just press enter. Done. This is done. Okay, now the second, so part 4, yes, part 4, and on ISP1, configure next hop IPv6 static route on LAN 2. So this is your LAN 2, okay? So this is your LAN 2. So LAN 2 IPv6 address is 2001 DB8 1, sorry, colon 11 double colon slash 64. So this is the address we are going to copy. This is your LAN 2 destination address, okay? So here we will go to the same, but just we need to change it here, okay? So this is 11.1.11, okay? We will write 1.11 just here. Just type 1.11 and our serial interface will be same. Serial interface will be same, okay? Because they have the serial interface IP address, okay? IP address is same, okay? 1.2. Now done. This one finished, okay? So now next is configure IPv6 floating static route to the internal LAN. Now this is the floating now. See, this is our primary path for LAN 1 for IPv6 and for LAN 2 primary static route, IPv6 static route. Now we need to configure the backup route, IPv6 backup route, okay, from this point to this one for LAN 1 and LAN 2. So this is floating internal LAN. On ISP1, configure next hop IPv6 floating static route for LAN 1 through ISP2 router. Use the administrative distance is 5. Now here we will use the administrative distance 5, but next hop IPv6 floating static route. Next hop means we need to write the IP address, okay, IP address of this interface. We will see what is the IPv6 address of this gigabit 00 interface of ISP2. ISP2. So here we will go to the ISP2. So this gigabit 00 interface, this is your gigabit 00 interface. Go to the ISP2. So this is your ISP2, ISP2 gigabit 00. So you need to type 2001 DB8 FF. Sorry, let me select and copy. Let me select and copy this one, okay? So this will be the ff.2, but it should be the primary. So this is your backup mean floating static route, okay? Floating static route for LAN 1. So we will go for LAN 1, 1.10. You can see here, this is 1.10 and slash 64, but this is the backup path. So now here we can mention the IP address of this gigabit 00, IPv6 address of gigabit 00. So IPv6 address of this gigabit 00 is this one, 2001 DB8 FF.2, okay? So just type this one, okay? Just type this one once, and after that you need to enter the administrative distance. So administrative distance mean, because the backup path, now if this is a backup path mean the floating static route, you need to write a 5 higher administrative value, okay? Administrative distance value, AD value, okay? So this is your 5, okay? Now done. Then for IPv6 for LAN 2, for LAN 2 we need to repeat the same process and exiting IP address of this gigabit 00, okay? Because the LAN 2 we write D1. So here LAN 2 FF.2, okay? Sorry, this is FF.2 5, okay? This is 5, okay? So FF.2, this is 5, okay? Now we type it here, okay? So this one, no IPv6, this one copy, and let me type no, okay? Now this is the one, okay? Now it is correct. So once you will done, you can see now we have the backup path IPv6. Now we have configured. Okay. Now, so internal LAN we have finished. Now we will go for part number. Yes, we have finished this one. We finished this one. Now, if you are configuring, if your configuration has been completed correctly, you should be able to ping to the web server. We can able to ping the web server from host LAN 1 and LAN 2. We can see, can we ping to the host from here, from LAN A to LAN B, ping and paste and check the connectivity. You will see if you have done all the configuration, you will see it will able to ping to your customer server. Yes, we can ping. You can see you can ping. So from here and also from the LAN 2, go to the command prompt, write ping, and you will able to ping to this one. Okay, you can see you can ping to your customer server. So now this is correct. Now go to the instructional page again. Now part number 5, if you will see configure host root, configure host root. So user on the corporate network frequently access a server that is owned by the important customer. So in this case, you will configure the static host root to the server. Static host root to the server. One root will be a floating static root to support the redundant ISP connection. So this will be your primary, and this can be the secondary. Secondary means the floating static host root. Okay, floating static host root. So we will see how we can configure it. So step number 1, part 5, step number 1, configure IP4 host root on the edge router. So we need to go to the edge router and need to configure IPv4 directly connected. Directly connected. It means you need to mention the port number. Directly connected means you need to mention the port number. So directly connected host root to the customer server. Okay, so we will go to the edge router. So we will go to the edge router and we will configure here. Okay, so on the edge router, okay, enable configure terminal, and then you need to type IP root. Okay, IP root. So what is the address here? 192.168.0.10. Okay, so 0.10. So IP root. Sorry, here let me just IP root. Okay, 0.10 and sorry, and subnet mask is 255.255.255.255. This is the host IP4 host root. Okay, so and then it should be serial 0/0/0. Okay, so here you can write serial 0/0/0. Okay, now done. So the second statement. Now, what is the second statement here? So on the edge router, configure IPv4 directly connected floating host root. Floating host root to the customer server use administrative distance is 5. Now we will configure the backup here. So the backup route from, so here we need to mention the edge router. So the edge router, you have serial 00 interface and serial 001. So serial, it will be serial 001. Okay. Now if you will see here, so same 0.0.10 and here serial 001. Okay, if you will see here, it is serial 001. Serial 001. Okay, so here just type serial 001. Okay, so it is done. So sorry, this is our administrative distance is 5. So here we need to type that. Sorry, administrative distance 5. Sorry, administrative distance is 5 because this is the backup route. Okay, this is the backup route. Okay, so we type the administrative distance 5. Okay, now so we have configured IPv4 host route. Now we need to configure the IPv6 host route. Okay, now IPv6 host route. So now go to the instructional page and we will see what we have done and configure IPv6 host route. On the edge router, we need to configure IPv6 next hop host route to the customer server through the ISP router. Okay, so we are here on the edge router. So on the edge router, just you need to type IPv6 root. Okay, so IPv6 root is your primary, and this is your IPv6 secondary root through ISP2. So first we will configure the primary root, and this is the backup root we will configure later on. Okay, and here we are using next hope. Okay, next hope static root. Next hope means we need to write the IP address of next hope. Okay, exiting interface. So here we will type IPv6 root. Okay, IPv6 root. Then we need to type the destination address of the server. So what is the server here? So this is the ff.10. Okay, so this is your server address /28. So we will go here, and you can also find it here, ff.10/64. Sorry, /128. Okay, so this is /ff.28. Just go to the instructional page, and you will see here server, customer server, ff.10. Okay, ff.10. But if you need to type the host, ff.10 IP root. Okay, IP root. So 2001 TB8 ff :10/28. Okay, sorry, 128, and then you need to type the next hope IP address. So next hope means serial 0000 interface. So what is the serial 000 interface? Go to the addressing table and go to the ISP1. ISP1 serial 00 interface. It means this is the address 2001 DB8 1.1. So 2001 DB8 colon A colon 1 double colon 1. Okay, so copy this one, paste it here. Copy this one and paste it here. So this will be your IPv6 host root. Okay, you are configuring here. Okay, so now this is done. Now you need to configure the backup IPv6 root. Okay, so backup, it will be same. Just you need to find out the interface IP address of this exiting interface IP address of serial 001 ISP2. So we will go to the serial 001. This is your ISP2. Come to the ISP2 serial 001 and type 2.1. Just we will copy this 2.1. Okay, sorry, but this can be the backup path. Okay, so this can be the backup path. So now I have copied, and here I will use the same, but this address, remove it and paste it here, and administrative distance write 5. Okay, so type 5 because this is your backup path. Okay, so this is now your backup path. Okay, so now we have done all our tasks. Now it is 100% completion, and we have configured all the steps. Okay, so that's all for today for this packet tracer activity. So let me stop the recording. It is only for